Thanks, McGregor. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Yes, there's a new core curriculum just around the bend, fall of 2014, and some of you may have received an email message about some procedures on that yesterday. The core curriculum we're dealing with now was approved in 1999, and it was getting a little tired. We've learned a few things about innovation in teaching and reinvigorating the faculty and student success and assessment since this core was implemented. So the Undergraduate Education Advisory Committee, which made most of the recommendations about this new core, felt it was time for a change. Their recommendations were influenced by a number of studies, including studies from the American Association of Colleges and Universities, and also a couple of groups studying desirable workplace knowledge and skills that employers are seeking. And the UEAC noticed that those two lists were absolutely identical. Not necessarily ordered in the same way, but everybody wanted the same thing. So that was the foundation for this new core curriculum, which the UEAC really felt very excited about and felt that this was an opportunity to transform the student experience and shift it away from a number of, why do I have to take this course just to check off this box kinds of experiences, to understanding that they are building the essential knowledge and skills they will need, whether it is to continue their education, to function well in their job, or to be an effective citizen, neighbor, parent, and person. The 2014 core has shifted away from that sort of list of courses that we're not sure why we have to take, to a more coherent set of skills. And for the first time in the 20-plus history of legislative mandates for the core curriculum, we have a unified purpose, a mission statement for the core curriculum, which you can see here. Through the core curriculum, students will gain a foundation of knowledge of human cultures and the physical and natural world, develop principles of personal and social responsibility for living in a diverse world, and advance intellectual and practical skills that are essential for all learning. The UEAC acknowledged changes both in legislation and through the reaffirmation process with SACS, and they understand that you all are already including learning objectives for every course, that you've got the knowledge content area pretty well addressed already. So this freed them up to recommend skills-oriented objectives that students could accumulate experience points in, if I can borrow the metaphor from gaming, across a variety of disciplinary experiences. So the 6 core objectives that the UEAC recommended are critical thinking skills and communication skills, which they felt were so important that they should be addressed in every single core course. Empirical and quantitative skills, teamwork, social responsibility, and personal responsibility. And I think I'm not telling most of you anything you don't already know. The core curriculum remains fully transferable across the public sectors of higher education in Texas. And while we wanted to innovate and reflect changes in approach and focus, we didn't, as Lucy is fond of saying, want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, you know, it's her idiom, and we all love it. So the UEAC recommended that the basic component areas were working pretty well, but we had some uneasy bedfellows. So we separated the visual and performing arts away from those other humanities and made them their own foundational component areas. The 8 foundational component areas represent content knowledge areas that we would expect in concert with many other colleges and universities and employers across the nation, that graduates of a college-level program, whether at the associate level or the baccalaureate level, should have. So the 8 foundational component areas, we've also split history, government, and social and behavioral sciences into their own areas. We were already doing this with transcripting, so it was not a huge leap. Communication, mathematics, life and physical sciences, you know the list already. And we pretty much kept the same minimum number of credit hours in each of those areas. This brings us to one of the most innovative parts of the new core curriculum, which is the component area option, and you'll hear a little bit about that shortly. For each of the foundational component areas, those first 8, the UEAC recommended a 3-part sort of brief orientation to the area. The first part of that orientation talks about the focus for the category, for the foundational component area. And we've taken creative arts as our example. So courses in this category focus on the appreciation and analysis of creative artifacts and works of the human imagination. Music, art, dance, theater, movies, you name it. Courses themselves, the content of the courses should involve synthesis and interpretation of artistic expression and enable critical, creative, and innovative communication about works of art. The third part of each of the foundational component area descriptions that you don't see here details which of those core objectives need to be covered in every course in that FCA. So we have a handy chart here with radio buttons showing you the distribution that is based largely on UEAC recommendations. It was tweaked a little bit. Except for math, every one of the 8 foundational component areas should address 4 out of the 6 objectives, with communications and critical thinking being included in every course. You notice that the CAO, the component area option, only includes those 2 required of all courses, communications and critical thinking. And Lucy is going to talk with you a little bit more about the CAO and implementation.
So the component area option is that last 6 hours, that other 6 hours, replacing the institutionally designated option, and well, completely different is a little stretch. 3 of those hours, we ask that the course aligns with a specific foundational component area and the aligned core objectives. So you could have a calculus course and it match the math and be in your component area and it meets all those core objectives. Another up to 3 hours you could use also would meet at least one of the foundational component area descriptions, but you choose the core objectives that best suit the course, as long as it includes communication and critical thinking. You can use all 6, match, that's absolutely fine too, but you do have that little bit flexibility with the core objectives on up to 3 hours. You can use the component area option as you see fit on your campus. You can use it for institutional options, missions, such as if you want every student on your campus to take speech, you can put it in the component area option. If you want everybody to have a global initiatives type course, you can include it in that area. You can also use a component area option for overflow hours. For example, you may want to use labs, and they are not included in the 6 hours, but you have additional labs that the overflow hours can be used in that component area option. Why? Because they match the description of the life and physical sciences and they include those same core objectives. So as long as you fit by those 2 rules, you'll be off and running. The other part to it is that you can allow for a student flexibility. If you have a psychology major, for example, and you'd really rather they took 2 social and behavioral sciences, they took psychology, one of them would fit for the social and behavioral science, the other one could go in the the component area option. So it gives the student a little more room for double dipping if need be. Assessment. The UEAC had a couple of folks, well, several folks come in and assist with the assessment component, with all of the fun stuff that's going on with SACS and with us and everybody about assessment, we realized this was not a component that should be left until the end. It's like, oh, holy cow, we need to do our report right now. It's something that needs to be planned from the beginning. The core objectives are what will be assessed for the entire core curriculum. As Catherine mentioned, the content is institutional, is through learning outcomes and as such, but the core objectives are across the core curriculum. What we're going to ask is that, and the assessment should include both direct and indirect assessment across the board, various ways of getting the different core objectives. We hope and we plan that the report that you send to us will be aligned with what you are using to send to SACSCOC. We don't want you to have to do the same thing twice. We ask that the cycle that you're on right now, it's a 10-year cycle, that you send your assessment report to us 2 years before you submit your paperwork to SACS. That'll give us the time to review your report, send you a lovely letter saying, yes, you're absolutely perfect by the state, here you are, and you can add that to your documentation for SACSCOC. What we have yet to figure out and we are working with is that those in-betweeners, if you've got SACS coming in within the next 5 years, and which do you report on, the old one or the new one, we're going to be discussing about when is that break point before you say, okay, just send us your old one, just send us the new one, or can we have a mixture of the two? So hold your horses, we're working on that one. So implementation, where are we? What's going on? Deadline is to submit your materials is November 2013. Hopefully everyone this word has spread fast like wildfire, that the implementation procedures went out via email to, and I think all of you got it actually, yesterday. So, and the Core Curriculum website has also been updated with that information as well. What we are looking for is 3 parts. How did you come up with, what was your process for selecting the courses? Just a brief description of how you got from point A to point Z. Your assessment process, and this is really a 2-parter. We're asking for you to explain this first time, how you determined your benchmarks for each core objective. How do you know that your institution met whatever level you have set for critical thinking, for example? And the other part is to describe your plan. What's your timeline? What are your general assessments? It doesn't have to be so minutely specific, but just so you have a plan from the beginning. And finally, the big part is, what are your courses? We're going to ask for all the general information and which foundational component area it goes with. We will ask for links, because this is all going to be done electronically. We're so ahead of our time. It's just fantastic. All electronically submitted. We do ask for links to syllabi and other relevant material that you have. So if we see, for example, underwater basket weaving, my favorite course, in the math component area, we can go, let me have a look at that. And we may call upon you and say, could you explain to us how that course, you determined that course met the foundational component areas and includes the core objectives. So that will all be done through a lovely online system which is in the works. We hope to have that. It will be done. I've been promised that it will be done by June. We'll send you the instructions on how to do that in July. I've been promised. So other bits and pieces, and I'm moving as fast as I possibly can because this, is just little. Unique needs courses. Those aren't core curriculum courses. Those are unique to your institution. They will not be allowed in the core curriculum. The student must be able to complete the core curriculum in 42 semester credit hours. Labs that are to a specific major or anything you have, try and fit them into that component area option as much as you possibly can. They should be able to complete the core curriculum in 42 hours. 75% of your institutions are already doing it in 42, but there are a few that are going to have to reduce it down. For those of you who, well, you guys are all moving to the new government course, we are asking the universities to tell us why they are not aligning with your courses. That was one of the things that came up at UEAC. As of right now, they're not in the ACGM, so they don't have to follow that. We're going to ask them to give us specific outline details, so if a student from your institution goes to another university, they don't get stuck, hopefully. That's the goal. One change that we've done that we ask for that has come through rules is changes. Of course, you're not going to change this. It's going to be perfect right out of the bat. So, out of the gate, sorry, wrong thing. So, we ask that you just, over an academic year, if you will just submit one change, squish them all together and send us to them once, that will save a lot of problems with students. Is it in that catalogue? Is it in this one? We'll archive old courses on the website and such. If you send it to us before March 1st, we can get it we can approve it for the following fall. After that, it would be the fall after that. So we're going to try and keep these core curriculum on an academic year basis. And we will have a core curriculum website. The current one is hosted by Texas State University, and the coordinating board will be taking that over. The current one will remain on that site, so your current students still can use that for several years as we do the transition, so it won't disappear in 2014. Deadlines, hopefully you guys, it's all perfect, you're all done. We will be taking submissions in August. Please email Catherine Parsoneault as soon as possible if you are interested in submitting your documentation early. We do have limited spots available for August through October. In November, it's going to be a free-for-all, so don't panic if you're not ready to do that. We as staff promise to complete the core curriculum review and have final approval of your core curriculum by February. Now, that includes February 28th as well. Our goal is to get that information to you as soon as possible. If you send it to us in August, we may have it even sooner. We will have it even sooner. So we know that you've got classes to schedule and catalogs to print and all that fun stuff. We will be done by February, the end of February. So, promise. And then, fall of 2014, we're off and running. That is it for us. We will take questions during the question and answer period, but here's our contact information. Please don't hesitate to call us, email us. We are happy to help. Thank you very much.